Welcome back to Slingshot Disc Golf. Today is episode 2 of the Road to 400 Feet featuring my student, Brendan. Episode 1, I'll leave a link in the description for our first lesson. Today we are going to find out how far Brendan can actually throw to get a benchmark, to find out what we have to do to get you to 400. Even though the ultimate goal is to just have really good form. But distance is always that driving factor. So there's gonna be 2 parts to this video. We're gonna find out how far Brendan throws, and then I'm gonna take a deep dive into his form and point out every single thing that we're gonna work on going forward and just get an idea of what slingshot rules he's following and what he's breaking.
I'm scared, Coach.
Tell us how scared you are.
Very scared.
It's because I'm going to make him get in an athletic position. He's going to sweat. The heart rate's going to get up, and it's going to be slingshots for everybody. All right, let's get into it.
Why do these cones have to be so far away?
Oh, that's awesome, man.
The thing that I noticed after that first lesson is coming out here, I wasn't getting more distance, but I was getting the same distance with like 0% effort.
SlingshotDiscGolf.com to get what he has.
Yeah. You're just gonna get a sound file. Ugh. Oh, slip. Here we go, watch this. Sheriff.
No having fun on my channel. Everyone knows that. I don't smile. You know what, we might as well take a... If you want to know the placement of snap, that's it.
Well, I feel good that all of them that I threw made it at least to the scoreboard, the 200-foot mark. Yeah. I'm not so happy about is the number of them I threw that are between the 200 and 300 mark. I didn't throw this katana.
Shortest throw of the day, Coach T.
I see a Valkyrie here. I don't see my yellow one. That would be like the other contender for... Oh, yeah, it's short. Okay.
All right.
Here it is.
All right, we got the Jet and we got the Valk, the G-Star. Oh, that reminds me of my G-Star strike I lost. I'm sad, man.
Okay. I'll stand. I'll measure both of them at the same time. 400 feet. Thanks, Coach T. 280.
280?
280.
Bro! And we're in a little bit of a headwind. I don't care what Brendan says. The way this is playing is a little bit harder, and 400 feet was a little uphill, so I'd say you can hit 300 on a good throw. And he played all morning, so he's a little tired, but we're still gonna take 280. So if you throw 400 feet, that's 120 feet gain, but ultimately we just wanna have good form and gain some distance. Yeah. Okay, let's look at your forehand though.
Star Firebird.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, 400!
Oh,
316.
Okay, before we get started on Brendan's form, a couple things. I don't care how far Brendan can throw after all of this. 400 feet's the goal. Of course, that's going to be great. That's going to be a driving, motivating factor. But for me personally, I never care about distance. I want Brendan to have pro form because that's going to lead to the most distance that he's capable of. Because remember, distance is just a measure of one's athleticism. There's a lot of people on the internet who throw really far that don't get into the basic fundamental professional disc golf positions. That's more important. Number 2, real quick advertisement. If you head over to slingshotdiscgolf.com and you get a one-on-one Zoom lesson with me, this is sort of what it's like. I have a very specific checklist that I go through. This is the process to find out exactly where you're at. I'm going to use the slingshot rules to evaluate Brendan's form. This is going to give us an idea of what videos we're going to make going forward, because each thing that I point out, we're going to make a video on it, and we're going to work on getting Brendan dialed in when it comes to all the slingshot rules. If you haven't seen the slingshot rules video, I'll leave a link in the description so you can know more about that. So we're going to start with the fundamentals of pro form, which can be seen in the lower body, but ultimately it's about how we rotate, how we brace, how we shift our weight. Just focusing on the lower body right now, this is a good comparison. Brendan is balancing on the back leg. His right leg's in a good position, knee bent, ball of the foot, doing good so far. The next thing I look at is what happens with this leg, because usually people open it and they open their hip. Right now, Brendan's hip and his leg are in a good position, but we really want it to stay like that the whole time his leg drifts. As you can see, he starts to open it right here. So that's okay, but then that leg starts to open. You can see that foot opening, that hip opening. Now, it's not a horrible case of hip opening, but I would still put this in the category of horse stance instead of the magic position. Watch how Paul's leg stays in the same position the whole time. He doesn't open it or open the hip. Really solid. And that brings us to the loaded position, where this knee is bent out, this leg is naturally bent in. Because Brendan doesn't do the correct thing with this leg, he does not achieve the loaded position. So that is a fundamental of backhand form that he does not have down yet. Because Brendan opens his leg, the knees are more bent out. I've seen way worse cases of this. This isn't that bad, but ultimately it's not the magic position because the knees are bent out. Every pro gets into the magic position where the knees are bent in. Now the pro position, where we get a rotation in the L shape. This really tells you what you're doing with your weight and your shift and whether you're a front leg disc golfer or back leg disc golfer. You're going to see that Brendan shifts his weight laterally onto his front leg and then his back leg becomes a counterweight. Lunges all that weight to the front leg. This leg is straight, that foot straight, zero rotation from the body. Laterally shifting his weight. That means his body is still facing the camera sideways, so it's a lateral weight transfer. We're going to make another video on that for sure. So this is where the pro position should be happening. Straight leg, left arm, upper body, lower body, an anchor, all his weight lunged under the front leg. Not the pro position. I consider this the most important position in disc golf. L shape, body rotated. So when it comes to the lower body, we have to make sure that it matches up with this to some degree. This has to change, and we're going to work our butt off to change it. Now we're going to move to the upper body. But before we do that, I want to point out that Brendan does put his right foot in a good spot. Like, this is not a ball golf alignment. This is a disc golf alignment. And that is one change that we actually made. He is not doing a heel to toe stagger. Otherwise, his foot would be up here. So that is already a massive improvement from last time that we worked with him. And that is also a massive fundamental. So he has that down. The next thing that I look at, are you coiling into the hip or are you opening your back hip? Brendan does a fantastic job loading into that glute and not opening that hip. And that is a huge, huge beginner mistake that people make. And it makes your leg go straight, and his leg is still bent here. He's still on the ball of that foot. I give him an A for loading and coiling into that hip. Okay, the next thing I look at is the extension. More specifically, the Paul Macbeth rule of timing, where you want to get this foot down before extension. Looking over here at Paul, the foot has just touched and his arm's not straight yet, and then he's going to straighten his arm. The timing of extending after the foot touches gives you the most rubber band effect. But ultimately, if you're not doing that, you want to at least extend at the same time your foot touches or getting it as close as possible. When we look at Brendan, he gets on that back leg and he just extends right away. Back leg, arm already extended. The fact that he's fully extended his arm means he's already stopped coiling. He's no longer going to be working his body towards this leg, the forward move. This is a great comparison. Right now, his head should be facing the target a little more. Shoulders shouldn't be turned. This arm shouldn't be extended. Looking at Paul, shoulders not turned. Still just holding that L shape, so he hasn't really extended yet. Because you want to coil this part of the torso first. You want to keep your head on the target a little longer. This is really hard to do, but we have to work on this. The next thing I look at when it comes to extension is, are you going in to out or out to in? Right now, Brendan's got this L shape with his elbow. That means he's got the disc in. And when he does extend, it does go in to out. It just happens really, really early. So that's a good technique that he does have down. He just has to learn to delay it. L shape in. extend to out. After you fully extend, that elbow should be bending the whole time, and that disc should go right into the 90-degree. I don't call it the power pocket, but if that helps you, once you hit full extension, that elbow just bends. You don't ever see Paul's elbow bent and hanging there. It's bending the whole time. Looking at Brendan, his elbow gets bent right here when he goes to throw it, and it just hangs there for a really long time as he leads with his shoulder. He's really lunging and leading with his shoulder, and his arm is just staying at 90 degrees. His elbow starts to bend, and then it stops, and it just hangs there for a while. The combination of the arm hanging like that and the aggressive leading with the shoulder, it ultimately clogs the area. This is rounding. There's no space created here. Look at how Macbeth has space between the disc and his body. The way Brendan is doing this right now, his arm is collapsing into his body. His elbow is too low. That elbow needs to be up. That shoulder needs to be up. Ultimately, he's taking that lever away. He's really taking that elbow out and out the tip of the whip, and he's making it much harder on himself to create spin. We don't want to see that elbow that low. We want to see it close to that. Brendan's off arm is acting more like a sailboat. It's another anchor keeping him from rotating. Paul Macbeth is using it more like an ice skater, keeping yourself nice and compact, helping you spin. That's my final review. It may seem like a lot. It may seem harsh, but it's reality. You know, watching Brendan throw in person, he's actually pretty smooth. He gets good snap on the disc, and he's very accurate. But at the end of the day, Brendan is missing most of the fundamentals of backhand form. He has a couple of them down. He has a couple important ones down already, but I would say majority of them he needs to learn still, which is exciting. It's exciting. I tell my clients this all the time. You're throwing 280 feet and you're doing a lot of things wrong. That means you have 100 more feet. Having these noticeable areas of improvement, it should give you hope that there is more, that you're not just stuck. Big shout out to Brendan for doing this with me because I can be a pretty harsh critic. We went to high school together, so he knows me. He's cool with it, but still, big shout out because great opportunity for me too. This is awesome. I'm really excited about this. We're gonna be making videos based on all of these things because we have to get to work. I don't know how long it's gonna take. Brendan's a very talented human being. He can do a lot of awesome things. The guy's a magician, an insane musician. He has a lot of talents, and he also has some physical ability. He's got some strength, he's got some size, he's got some strong legs. He can do this, and I hope you come along for this journey because the road to Easy Street goes through the sewers, and that's why I'm so intense about backhand form because I went through the sewers, and that's what it takes. Thank you for watching episode 2, Slingshots for everybody.
All right, I gotta coil more. I'm not coiling enough.
Circle, baby!
Oh my!
Circle,
Oh
baby!
my! Wow.
Okay.